Hello, my friends. I have been seeing a lot of the mid-year freakout tags, and I was thinking, in my little head, I was like, maybe I should do one of those. And then I decided instead I should tier rank every book I've read so far this year. I believe I'm at 67, 68-ish. Not exactly sure. My Storygraph and my Goodreads and my Notion all have different numbers. So that's a problem for a later day, if I say so myself. Sorry they're cut off at the bottom. It's not letting me scroll. Not that that would let me scroll. I have tiers, as you do. First one being required reading. You're required to read this. If you watch this video, I'm sorry you have to read these books now. They are my favorite of the year so far. I loved them. I want to read them again some point. I maybe want to own them at some point. Next, I see the vision and I like it a lot. These are books that I liked a lot, you know? I saw where they were going. I liked where it was going, but it just wasn't perfect for me. It was missing a little something. It did a little something that bothered me that I didn't love, and it kind of bounced it down a star. Next down, we have I Probably Forgot the Plot Right After Reading. Pretty self-explanatory. This is a book that, it was fine. It was okay. I read it. I had a fine time while reading it. It's not going to affect me after I finish it. Never going to think about it again. I probably already forgot the plot. Next, I have Do People Really Like This? The answer is yes. The answer is yes for all of the books that are going to be in this category, but they're just a type of book that I read, and I can't imagine anyone enjoying them because I had such a terrible time myself. This does not mean it's a bad book. Some of these books are bad books. There's one book I have particularly in my brain that I know is going here that I know realistically is not a bad book. I just hated it. It just did not work for me. Lastly, I have maybe book banning is good sometimes. I don't truly think that with my brain. I think all book banning is bad, obviously. Duh. But sometimes I read a book and I go, maybe we should burn libraries, you know? Save everyone from what I experienced. These are in no particular order. First, I have The Vegetarian. This book was one of those like weird books where you don't exactly know what's going on. It's very ambiguous. It's about this girl who just decides to become a vegetarian overnight, and her family wildly overreacts to it. And it's about her perspective. It switches perspectives of different people throughout the family, and you kind of just see what's going on. You see the family dynamic, and you see this woman who decided to become a vegetarian kind of withering away and losing autonomy of her body. Very interesting. Um, you know, I see the vision and I like it a lot. It was very interesting. I definitely didn't love it. I know that people loved this book and it was good, and it is one that I have remembered. It's just not, it was missing something. Next, I have An Unkindness of Ghosts. This is a sci-fi reimagining of the antebellum South. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did not like this one. I got what they were doing. I saw the vision. I just did not like how they were doing it. Honestly, I don't remember why I didn't like this book, but I know that I did not like it. I know I didn't like it. I think I found the main character like unrealistic. I thought the way she was acting was very unrealistic and like annoying. Like just talk to people. I don't remember if that actually makes sense to the story, but that's how I remember feeling. Next I have A Sorceress Comes to Call. Ooh, starting off real negative here. I don't like this book because I was misled. I went to the bookstore and I said, I want a fun, silly, little, cozy fantasy. I like some stakes, but not a lot of stakes. I just want it to be like fun and a good time. And the bookseller went, oh my God, T. Kingfisher just came out with a new book. It's called A Sorceress Comes to Call. You have to read it. And I went, sold. And then I didn't buy it because T. Kingfisher is very hit or miss for me. But I added it to my Livy and I read it twice because I forgot I had read it the first time because it just made absolutely zero impact on me. And then the second time I read it is after the bookseller was like, you should read this book. And it is not a fun or cozy read. This is a book about an abusive mother. That's not fun or cozy. at all. I hated it. Next, I have Suture. Ooh, I feel mean putting it here. No, I'll put it in 3 stars. So Suture is this like alternative reality almost where creatives have to use a physical part of themselves to create something. So artists use like blood and flesh like from themselves. Filmmakers have to like scoop out their eyeballs. And it was it felt a little self-insert for the author, which feels really mean, but like the author in the book they write with their blood was just like horribly depressed and felt like no one understood them. And I'm like, I get it. I've been a teenager before. This would have been a better young adult, I feel. The Will of the Many, required reading. I am not a fantasy girly, a sci-fi girly. I'm a lit fic girl, a like weird horror girl. So this book surprised me. This cover, horribly ugly. The original cover is so much better. I'm actually incredibly upset about this. This is a very classic dark academia fantasy story. It is about this guy who gets plucked from his life and put into this prestigious school to learn how to use powers. There's like a very interesting magic system where it's a hierarchy and the people at the top draw power from the people at the bottom. Very interesting. He gets put there because there's different like groups that handle the magic and the groups are corrupt, would you believe it? So one of the groups sends this guy to infiltrate the other group to find the secrets, and it ends on a cliffhanger. It is a trilogy, or maybe there's 4 books in the series. I had so much fun. There are definite problems with this. This probably is not required reading for the people who read a lot of books like this because it's incredibly tropey. He's a total Mary Sue. I know that there's a masculine version of Mary Sue, but I don't remember. But he's just the best at anything anyone's ever been, and everything comes super easy to him, and he's like the best at the school despite the fact that he had no training, and people have been training for the school before they went to the school, but he just comes in and he's the best. And there's also a really stupid scene. This is like a mild spoiler, so skip ahead like a minute. But he like saves this wolf pup, and then later the wolf pup is grown and it saves him. It's so stupid. I was reading it and I was like, wow, that's bad. And it did almost lose an entire star for me, but I just had so much fun. And the cliffhanger at the end, incredible. I cannot wait for the next one to come out. And I hope it lives up to the hype. You know, I first finished this and I really liked it. I don't remember a lot of what happened. Nah, okay, I'm gonna put that there for now. I don't know if it's staying. This is by the same author who wrote American Psycho. This is a big ass book though, and American Psycho is not. It is about this group of pretentious Beverly Hills high schoolers who are very much living the Gossip Girl life. They're going out to bars, they're drinking, they're rich, nothing matters. Until one person comes to school who our main character, Brett, thinks is a serial killer. And he kind of goes a little crazy trying to stalk this man to find out if he's a serial killer. He feels like he's antagonizing him and getting buddy buddy with his friends. And it's like truly about this one man's like obsession. I feel like his books are very set in their descriptions. He's very overly descriptive. Like if you think about the business card scene in American Psycho, if you haven't read the book, if you've seen the movie, I can't remember if it's in the book, where they're just going back and forth about like the type of paper, the font, the cardstock, like all of that stuff. The entire book is written like that. It's very long and it's very tedious to get through at times, but it was fun. It was fun, and I want to read more by him. Next, I have QAnon and the Destruction of the American Family. Required reading. This might be the best book I've read all year, which is crazy because it's nonfiction and I am not a nonfiction girl. This book is about how QAnon preys on vulnerable people with little seeds of truth to get them drawn in before feeding them a whole bunch of different conspiracy theories, how it can even grab onto people who claim that they are liberal and switch their minds, and how this was really successful during COVID because of isolation, and how you can undo that, and how to talk to people who are in these like crazy conspiracy worlds. And it was a very sympathetic read that didn't make me feel like the world was ending and there was nothing I could do. I expected to feel terrible after reading this book and be like, oh my God, the world's so bad. But it's very much like nobody is inherently bad and everyone has the ability to change. Love. It was so good. I cannot. Everyone needs to read this book. Next, I have another nonfiction, and this is Big Mall. This is about, oh, I'm putting it in I See the Vision and I like it a lot. I did like this book a lot. Just, I feel like a 5-star nonfiction is hard for me. This book is about the creation of malls, the death of the suburban mall, mall culture, and it was just super interesting. I love a nonfiction on a very specific topic. I think that that is a lot of fun. And yeah, I learned a lot about malls. I don't know how much I absorbed and still know, but I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was really cool. And it did mention my childhood mall, which is Providence Place Mall in Providence, Rhode Island. And the entire book, I was waiting for them to mention it because there was a group of artists who lived in the walls of this mall for like 4 years. Like, while I was going to the mall during my childhood, there were these men living in the walls like rats because they got evicted from their apartments in the development of this mall. And they made a whole documentary about living in the walls. And it's about like gentrification. And I haven't seen the documentary yet. It came out this year, I think, but it's only playing at select theaters. And Providence Place Mall has a theater, and I doubt it will be playing there, but that's so funny. These people got banned from the mall, obviously. Next, I have Tell Me I'm Worthless. Okay, this is between here and here. I think I have to put it here. I didn't forget the plot of this one either. Okay, I kind of forgot the plot for this one. But this book mainly is about trauma and the manifestations of the media you consume in you and internalized biases and propaganda. And it's about these three girls who went into a haunted house and they all experienced a traumatic event while they were in there, and they all remember it incredibly differently. Our two main characters, one is a trans woman and one is a TERF, and she became a TERF because of what she experienced in this haunted house, which was an incredibly different experience than what the trans main character experienced. How many times can I say experience? It was interesting. It was incredibly British, which is not inherently a negative thing. That's just, I think because I did the audiobook, I was like, wow, this is super British. Oh, I'm feeling weird today. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't like this book more. I think it was a little like hitting you over the head with the point, which I don't always do well. Like, I read this last year. I didn't love Chain Gang All Stars the same way everyone else did because I was like, oh, it's a little bit tedious hitting you over. Tedious isn't the right word. It's a little bit too much hitting me over the head with the values of this book. And the values I agree with, but yeah, it was a little much for me. Next, I have Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. Everyone who is watching this can thank this book for this YouTube channel because I hated this book so much I had to create an outlet for me to complain about it. This book should be burned. This book was so bad. Don't even, oh my God, I'm getting started. I hated this book. I hated this book so much. So, this book is about conservative media, like literally possessing people, turning them into brain dead zombies. And our main characters fight to get back home to New York City from like rural Virginia. And that sounds so fun. That sounds like such a great metaphor to like losing people to the conservative media pipeline and not being able to have constructive criticisms with them anymore because they are just parroting back what is being told to them on Fox News. It sounds so good. It was not. This book was very much liberal elitism, and I don't think that that is a very constructive way to look at American politics. It's incredibly hard to talk about how much I dislike this book and why concisely. Okay, I'm editing and I think I can say it more concisely. Main problem with this book and the reason I hated it so much is because I pick up social horror in order to have a conversation about the actual horrors happening in real life. And the horror that this book was covering is corruption in news and how news has become a clickbaity engagement farming thing rather than something to actually share information. And that is a problem on both sides of the spectrum. It is incredibly hard to find unbiased news. Every single news thing you see is going to have a bias. That's just, it's journalism. That's going to happen, whoever's writing it. But finding sources that have as little bias as possible is nearly impossible. And that is because that stuff does not get the same attention that stations like CNN or Fox News has. And this book was not meant to have conversation. This was not a book for me. This book was supposed to be cathartic for people who just wanted to read something that they agree with, but I understand that it has a purpose to serve. I just think that this book was doing the same thing it was criticizing, but on the opposite side of the coin. And that's what bothered me so much. This book's just like vehement hatred for people that it disagrees with is harmful. And I don't think it's as harmful as conservatives. And I don't think it's as harmful as conservatives' hatred for immigrants or trans people or gay people or any of that. I don't think that it is as harmful, but I think that it furthers the divide between our political parties and makes conversation between the actual people, not politicians, harder to have. And that is the root of the issue, is that these parties have purposely divided people so that true change cannot be made. If the majority of Americans are just fighting against each other constantly, even though there are shared goals just put through different lenses, those shared goals will never come to fruition. So yeah, I don't think that this book was critical in the way that I wanted it to be. And that's a me issue, but I also think that that is what social horror is meant to do. So I don't think that this book was an effective social horror, and I think it was misleading. But also, so many people loved this book. This book has, I want to say, a very high rating on Goodreads. Let's check. This book has majority 4-star ratings. 32% of the ratings for this book on Goodreads is 4 stars. Also the next highest is 29% for 3 stars. So people think this is like a fine to a good book. People don't hate this book in the same way I do. Next, I have Just Like Mother, another book I did not like. This is a thriller horror about a cult. It's this like matriarchal baby birthing cult. I can't exactly remember, but our main character escaped this cult as a child and then reunited with one of the girls who was in this cult years later. I want to say early 30s. And she's like, I never want to have kids because that cult was traumatizing. Another girl that she reconnected with is like, having a child is the best thing that ever happened to me, and everyone should have children. And then she didn't realize, this is a spoiler, and she didn't put it together in her head like, oh, this is the cult again. She just went along with it. Have some survival instinct. I'm sorry. If you already survived a cult once, I think you would be hyper vigilant to that type of thing. Personally, I think I feel, and I know that not everyone would respond the same way that I think they should. But my God, it was so unbelievable. And people love this book, so maybe it wasn't, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Next, I have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. This book, if it was just Yumi's perspective, that's all I wanted. I did not care about the Nightmare Painter. I thought he was annoying. I did not care. I did not like his world. I liked Yumi's world, and I thought that that was far more interesting. And if it was only her perspective, this book would have been perfect for me. Next, I have Malagash. Just finished this book recently. This book is so good. This is about this family who moves back to Malagash because the father is dying of cancer. And this is through the perspective of the daughter Sunday, as she is secretly recording his voice and conversations to encrypt into a computer virus that she's going to let out so her father can live forever in computers. And it's like a non-malicious virus. It's not going to do anything bad to the computer. It's just going to chill there. And it was, I feel like, such an accurate depiction of grief and how different people in the family will respond to the grief of losing someone to a long-term illness. It fucking destroyed me. That book was so good. If you want to see me cry, watch my reading vlog. It's at the very end. You have to sit through an hour and a half. Next, I have The Dry. It was a thriller. I wanted to join a book club, and this is the first book they read, so I read it, and I was like, I have nothing nice to say about this, so I'm not going to go to the book club. And I've never been to the book club. I'm still in the WhatsApp for the book club. It was just a thriller. I don't remember anything that happened in it. I'm being too hard on it. It was the most average thriller in the world. It was Australian though, so I did enjoy the audio portion of it. I love an Australian accent. Next, I have My Name Isn't Paul. This is a novella about a parasite that goes into a human host and kind of eats it from the inside out and then inhabits its body, and that's how it exists. And the parasite that has taken over the body of Paul is like, I don't want to be a parasite, I just want to be a human, and kind of has like an existential crisis, and then enters his brooding season, so he has like an insatiable need to fuck, and it sends him into like a manic episode because he doesn't want to do that because it'll cause him to kill people. Yeah, it was just like an exploration of self and can you change who you are and instincts. Next, I have the blurriest cover, which I don't know why, and it's No One Is Talking About This. Pick it up right now. Add it to your TBR immediately. This is a book about social media and human connection, and it does not end the way it starts. It switches up very much in the second half to become a very empathetic story. And that's why you should read it. If you read the first half and you're like, this is really annoying and over the top, yes, it is. You are not wrong. Finish the book. I don't want to spoil it. This is one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. I have it on my shelf. I want to reread it right now because I'm looking at it. And it was so good and it made me cry at work. Crying in the cubicle. Next, I have Rant, an autobiography of Casey Buster. I think I can't see the full title here. This is about a boy named Casey who loves to get bit by things. So he is always sticking his hands down like burrows and getting bit by spiders and snakes and rats and animals and everything. So he constantly has rabies and he gives it to everyone and creates a rabies epidemic. But it's also a little sci-fi dystopian and it gets very weird at the end. And I can't tell you anymore. But if you like Chuck Palahniuk, you'll like this. It's a classic Chuck Palahniuk. It's gratuitous in all the best ways. I Fear I Hated This. This was an arc. It's supposed to be a lyrical horror about grave tenders in New England, and it wasn't. It was lyrical to a point of detriment for the story. If you are someone who likes a book for beautiful writing and you don't care about what it says, this might be good for you. It was also much more historical fiction than I expected it to be. It did not work for me in the slightest. Next, I have The Long Island Compromise. I read this at the same time as The Most Fun We Ever Had, and they're the same book in my brain. I cannot differentiate the two. They are literary fictions about fucked up families. I don't know which one is which. I shouldn't have read these back to back. And that's on me. Next, I have the favorites. This is also one that was like fine. I get why people love it. It was very much giving oh, what's her name? She has three names. Taylor Jenkins Reid. It was giving very Taylor Jenkins Reid to me. Just the type of story it was and the style of writing. And I do love a Taylor Jenkins Reid. I just think that she does it better. This is a Wuthering Heights retelling about ice dancers and the pursuit of fame. And yeah, it was fine. It was good. I liked it. Didn't love it. Next, I have Hurricane Season. I know this is a hot take. I know that people love this book or they hate this book. And I did really like it. I liked it because of how it was written. It's a very tense and frantic story, and there's no line breaks, there's no paragraphs, there's very little punctuation. So you feel really unsettled while reading it, and it really adds to the story. And I really liked that. I thought that was incredibly interesting, which is where the 4-star comes from. The actual story was fine, but the style of writing like really bumped that shit up. Next, I have The Reappearance of Rachel Price. A thriller. I remember basically nothing about this. This is about this girl whose mom went missing when she was a child, and the mom reappears while they're filming a documentary about it. It was like a fine popcorn read where you just read it and you're like, haha, that was fun, and then you never think about it again. There is a time and a place for those books. I'm not shitting on that. It's just they're not my favorite long term. Next, I have The Serviceberry. This is a nonfiction about abundance and consumption. And it was probably my least, it doesn't deserve to be that low. This is my least favorite nonfiction I've read this year. It shouldn't have been a book. It should have been an article or an essay. And I think it is an essay that got published. And if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have picked it up because it's just not the type of thing I want to read when I pick up a nonfiction book. I would have rather read this on my screen while I'm procrastinating work. Next, I have Loner. This was very good, very fun. This was about this boy who goes to Harvard and has always kind of been an outcast. And when he gets to school, he's able to reinvent himself a little bit. He like gets a girlfriend, he's able to get friends easier, but he's still a fucking weirdo and a terrible person. And you realize throughout the story that he didn't have no friends and was an outcast in high school because he sucks as a human being, not because he's a genius like he thinks he is. This is a good one for all you unreliable, unlikable main character lovers out there. I finished this book and I thought I hated the book because I hated the main character so much at the end. It was incredibly effective. It was so good. Not required reading, though. Check trigger warnings. Jesus Christ. Okay, next I have Moon of the Crested Snow. Incredible for different reasons. No, not required reading. This is a dystopian about a native community up north, middle of nowhere, Canada. And they lose power. They're like, damn, this happens because no one cares about us and society hates us, doesn't care if we live or die. So they're like pretty good at being able to conserve their resources and get by. And then they end up finding out that everywhere has lost power and there's no connection, and the world is like kind of crumbling around them. It's a dystopian. And you never learn why. It is just about this isolated community surviving and learning that this is a widespread issue and not just an isolated issue for them. And it was a very interesting look on like native communities and how this could happen for them. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super interesting. It's very ambiguous. I can see people not liking it because of that. Didn't bother me. Immaculate Conception, required reading. Ling Ling Wong can do no wrong. I love that woman. This is a kind of sci-fi near future dystopian kind of about this artist and her very toxic codependent friendship with another woman that she meets in art school. It is so much more complex than that. There is so much going on in this book. But I'm gonna leave it at that because that was the main thing. It was mainly about this toxic codependent relationship. Next, I have How Much of These Hills is Gold. Ugh, I hate historical fiction. I hate historical fiction. I read this because I picked up Land of Milk and Honey and I thought it was the most gorgeous writing I've ever read in my life, so I picked this up. I hate historical fiction. Next on the docket, I have The Three Body Problem. I'm sorry, I know that this is a beloved book. While I was getting this tattoo, the person in the chair next to me was getting a Three Body Problem tattoo and talking about how great that book was. And the entire time I was like, wow, I've DNF'd that twice. And I finally did finish it. I don't like it. I don't like the style of sci-fi. Next, I have Pizza Girl. This one was so disappointing for me because I love stories about obsession and unhinged girls and like weird friendships. And that's what this book was. It was about this pizza delivery driver who gets obsessed with like a regular that she delivers to. And they build this like weird friendship. And she eventually moves away. The pizza driver lady goes crazy, feels abandoned by this woman, so finds her and is unhinged about it. And something about it wasn't quite right for me. A Touch of Jen was another obsession story about weird girls that also just was not right for me. But that's because this one went into the realm of sci-fi. There was like a monster feature, and I didn't like where it went in the end, which is a shame because I did like the first half, maybe even the first three quarters. Next, I have The Year of Magical Overthinking. This was good. My main qualm was that it felt like a rehashing of Amanda Montell's first book, which was Cultish. Amanda Montell, she's a linguist and a podcaster, so she really knows how to tell a story, which makes a very entertaining nonfiction read. Next, I have God of the Woods. Okay. I am putting this in I See the Vision and I Like It, and it is nowhere near as good as any of these other books, but it is a good thriller. I enjoyed it for what it was, more than the typical books I read in that genre, so it is getting a boost it probably doesn't deserve. This is about a child who goes missing at a summer camp, and it is the same property that her brother had gone missing on before. So it's like kind of a dual timeline where we see what happened both times these children went missing. And the current day timeline takes place in the 70s, like a 70s summer camp. You're not going to get a low rating from me. That's so fun. Next is If We Were Villains. This was such a nostalgic read for me. I read this forever ago, and it's just like a good time, you know? It's just fun. It's just like a murder mystery with pretentious young adults going to a acting conservatory and they speak in Shakespeare. It's just fun. Okay, next I have Sunrise on the Reefing. Is this required reading? I don't think it is. I don't think it's required reading. Please don't hate me. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, that's not what I wanted you. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. It was a prequel to The Hunger Games. I don't think I'll ever put a prequel in required reading. It was good. Do not get me wrong. I really enjoyed it. It made me cry. It was Haymitch's Games, if you are unaware and living under a rock, respectfully. And it was good. It was good. It just wasn't required reading. I loved it. It just wasn't required reading. The Many Lives of Mama Love. This is a memoir. It is about a woman who was victim to the American justice system. She was not being a good person. Let me just be clear. She was heavily involved in drugs and she was stealing, and she had children that she like probably was not taken care of in the best way. And she eventually got arrested and she went to jail and she like got her shit together. She got sober, but just leaving the prison system could not survive in the world. She couldn't get a job. The constant probation was like running her broke. She owed back a whole bunch of money that she stole, and she faced the burden of that, and not her, I think it was her boyfriend, who got off like fairly scot-free despite having the same record from her. Like, she just got totally screwed by the system. And it was about how she eventually got back on her feet and like raising awareness for how the prison system creates a pipeline that you can't escape from. And it was incredibly well written. She is a copywriter professionally, so you can totally tell that in this book. Next I have I don't remember the name of this. 100 Years and a Day. This is a collection of short stories. It's like 32 short stories. The problem is all of the short stories are exactly the same. Next I have Mary. This is a retelling of Carrie, except it is a menopausal middle-aged woman written by a man. And I say that just to give you the warning. I think he did a very good job writing what menopause is like. I haven't gone through menopause though, so who knows? And he acknowledges, he's like, I'm probably not the best person to write this story, but he had an idea and he wanted to write it, and he talked to a lot of women about it who gave him pointers, and he seemed very respectful about it. But I know that that's not everyone's jam, so I wanted to give you the heads up. It was like a perfectly fine horror written by a dude. There's just something about dudes. They write horror in a very specific way. It just wasn't quite the story for me. It was fine. It was fine. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't bad. Just not my favorite thing in the world. Next, I have Starling House. This was, in fact, bad. This was bad. Why was this a romance? Am I remembering that correctly? I remember very little about this book except for how much I disliked it. It was the first book I read this year, and I was like, shit, I'm off to a terrible start. Next, I have Natural Beauty. Again, required reading. Ling Ling Long. You have my heart. This is about a woman who starts working at a very prestigious beauty startup almost, and then the treatments that they are doing are not quite normal or good at all, even a little bit. Highly recommend. Very disturbing, very interesting. Had a lot of takes on consent and autonomy and racism within the beauty industry. So good. It was so good. Next, I had Julia Fox's memoir that I cannot remember the name of right now, and I don't see it. Okay. Required reading if you're a memoir girl. Not even if you're just a celebrity memoir girl. If you like memoirs in general, read this. Julia Fox has been through some shit, and she talks about the shit she went through, and she doesn't try to paint herself in a good light. She acknowledges she did some shitty things and that she was not the best person, and she had some issues, and how she like is dealing with those issues, and how like fame has changed things for her. It was a very insightful read, and it was well written. She narrated it. She did an incredible job. I love when a person who writes a memoir narrates it. This was very good. Julia Fox, I love you. Next, I have The Yellow Wallpaper. Required reading. Duh. This is a tiny little short story. It is about this woman who gets locked in a house on the countryside for her mental health, except it does not help her mental health. It actually makes it worse because she is in this room with terribly ugly patterned wallpaper that she sees things in. She sees people moving around in them, and it just like drives her crazy. Next, I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I need to stop picking up TikTok books. I do. I have to. Next, I have Moon of the Turning Leaves. It is the sequel to Moon of the Crested Snow, and it belongs in the same ranking. It is a sequel, and it is about a couple people from this native community leaving to find a new place for their community to move to because the land that the government gave them is not very conducive to a good life of living on the land, so they want to go back to their ancestral land. So it's them leaving their community, kind of seeing the state that the world is in, and seeing if they are able to go to a new area, seeing if it's possible. Next, I have Hysteria. The more I think about this book, the more I like it. This is about this girl who is kind of on a bender and convinces herself that her bartender is Sigmund Freud. And like, he might be Sigmund Freud. I hate to say it, he might be Sigmund Freud. And she like comes to terms with her emotionally neglectful parents and that being damaging to her and affecting her life currently. So she decides to better herself. Surprise wholesome ending. Next, I have Perfume and Pain. This is a modern pulp lesbian novel about this girl who is a disaster. She's almost 30. She cannot stop blacking out every weekend. She is not being as fruitful in her writing as she wants to be, and she only dates women who ruin her life. And it was so fun. It was just a fun book. I love a self-destructive girl. Speaking of self-destructive girls is The Night Guest, except this does not belong on the same realm as Perfume and Pain because the girl in this book is just stupid. She's self-destructing, but she has solutions at her fingertips and she just doesn't use them. She discovers that she is tired all the time and they can't find anything wrong with her. So she gets a like Apple Watch and she's tracking her steps and it seems that she is walking incredibly far distances in the middle of the night. And instead of like turning the GPS function on her watch so that she can find where she goes, she's just like, that's weird, and stops wearing the watch. Girl, seriously, pisses me the fuck off. Next, I have Replay, which is a sci-fi about this man who he dies at like the ripe age of 50 and then goes back in time to when he was in college. And then when he reaches 50 again, he dies, goes back in time to like a period close to where he came last time. And he's just reliving his life over and over and over again. Interesting, very repetitive, which I assume you can imagine. It just was not fun to read. Next, I have Water Moon, required reading. And I know that this is a hot take. People are not loving this book because it is not about what the synopsis says. It is not about this girl taking over a pawn shop where people can pawn their regrets. That is the beginning setting. That is not what this book is about. That is the beginning setting. That is not what this book is about. This book is about this girl who travels to try to find her father because he goes missing. And through the like very imaginative, creative ways that they travel, like through rumor, they start a rumor, and as that gets spread around, they're able to like transport to places that this rumor is, where these people who have told this rumor is. It's so imagery heavy. I did the audiobook. It's so good. The cover is gorgeous. I bought the book because I want to read it with my eyeballs. So good. Required reading. Just go into it knowing that it is not about the pawn shop. I think that that's what's getting people. It's misleading and disappointing when the story is not what you expect it to be. Next, I have Youth Juice. This is another beauty industry book, and I really did like it while I read it and right after. I don't remember a lot about what happens in this book. I know that it is about this girl who's working at this like beauty startup, and the products are not what they are said to be, and there's like some body horror in it. Overall, I do not remember much about this book. I did think it was fun though. It's definitely like a high in this book, even though I'm not ranking them any more specifically than these ranks. If I were, this would go towards the front. Far before Suture sucked. Okay, next I have The Land of Milk and Honey. This book is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. It is a climate disaster dystopian where nothing is able to grow anymore because there is so much smog that's blocking out all of the light. But this very rich man bought a mountain over the cloud top where he is able to host a bunch of billionaires to come out and stay at his estate and eat delicious food that doesn't exist anywhere else except for there. And we follow the chef who starts working there. And she like grapples with this like obscene show of wealth and her benefiting from it by working there and like getting to eat this food herself and like the poverty that everyone else is facing. And there's like a little bit of a romance. It's so beautifully written. It is so good. Next, I have the au pair affair. I decided it would be a little fun and silly to try romance. I'm not a romance girl. That's the wrong book. I'm not a romance girl. This is not for me, unfortunately. She is an au pair for a hockey player, and she's like, oh my god, he's so big and strong. That's so scary, but he cares for me. I don't know how I'm gonna handle this. Let the big, strong, rich man take care of you. It's not that hard. Next, I have Love and Happiness. Okay, I'm putting it here. Mm, is it going down one? I don't remember what happened in this book. I do not remember what happens in this book. I know that she is at a dinner party, but most of the book is not about the dinner party. It is about her going through her previous relationships from when she lived in New York and was in the art scene. Can I tell you a single thing about any of those relationships? No, I cannot. No, I cannot. But I really enjoyed it while I was reading it. That's tough for me. I think I'm putting it up here because I did really, really like it. Next, I have Wild Dark Shore. Hot take. I don't think this book was very good. I'm sorry. I did not like the father isolating his children and stunting their development because he was sad their mom died. I'm sorry. Their mom died. They could probably use the support of their peers, but they don't have that because you're selfishly moving to the middle of an island. Also, you parentifying your children is not fun or cool. Next, I have Artemis. Yeah, this was also pretty bad. Andy Weir, why did you do this? Why did you write this character like she was 13 years old? That's all I remember. I remember this girl, our main character, who was supposed to be like early 20s, maybe even early 30s, mid 20s, somewhere in that range, acted like a 13-year-old, acted like a 13-year-old in her rebellious phase, and it was quite annoying. Okay, next I have The Memory Police. I did not like the story very much. It felt very translated, which is not the fault of the author, or I even think the translator. That can't be an easy job. But I was bored. I was very bored by this book, which is like, I don't remember what happened in it. I know that things are erased from people's memories and then they have to hide the people that remember things. And I remember there was an old man living on a boat. I don't remember what happens in this book at all. Wow, we're hitting a negativity streak. Next, I have A Game in Yellow. This is an arc that I read, and it was an interesting idea, and I definitely see it working for people. I can see people loving this, but it just didn't quite get, it didn't feel like they really went for it. I feel like this book could have been a lot weirder, and I feel like this book could have been a lot more erotic with what it's about. It is about this couple who are kind of like hitting a rut in their relationship. So to spice it up, they decide to make their sex life like a little bit. And one of the girls is like, I want you to choke me until I pass out and nearly die. And the other girl is like, we are not going to do that. So she finds this woman named Smoke who has this play that if you read the play, you get sucked into it and it can like ruin your life. It can possess you. But if you read only a little bit and get stopped, you get like survivor's euphoria. So they do that. She is into it and she gets obsessed with the play. But yeah, it just kind of like didn't fully go in to the like kinkiness part of the book, and it didn't fully go into her losing her mind in the way I wanted it to. And I also, a big part of this was you read the play as well. Um, and I just didn't like the play. I didn't like the play. It was like a Regency era ball setting, which I don't jive with. That's not my thing. Next, I have Rouge by Mona Awad. This was my second read of this. I liked it a lot the second time. I feel like people don't like this book because it commits the sin of not being bunny, which was most people's like first Mona Awad read. It is about this woman who gets kind of sucked into this beauty cult that is a lot more sinister than it seems. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna read it at that. I think you should read this. It definitely gets surrealist and weird in a different way than Bunny. Well, you can't tell because this is just a light blue square, but this is Wetlands. Oh, I fear I loved this book. This is not a recommendation. This is not a recommendation. This is a weird book. This is what I wanted a Game in Yellow to go as far as this. This book is a grotesque book about this 18-year-old who is in the hospital post lesion surgery, who's just disgusting. She like licks toilet seats, she puts avocado pits up her she just is unapologetically disgusting, and it goes so over the top with it. And I can't help but respect it. I can't help but respect it. Next, I have The Mean Ones. This is generous. I fear. I don't want to talk you out of this book. I can see people really liking this book. This is a dual timeline about a girl when she was young, like early teenager, preteen at summer camp, and her now as like a 30-something-year-old. When she was at summer camp as a child, she witnessed her friends get brutally murdered, and since then her PTSD manifests as her like dead animals will talk to her and scream at her in the voice of her friends, being like, why didn't you save me, why didn't you save me, and like trees talk, all this stuff. So she avoids the woods at all cost. And then her shitty boyfriend is like, oh my god, we're going to a cabin in the woods, and it's her like dealing with that later on, and things get spooky and scary, and it gets a little bit possession like. It just felt very YA to me. It felt very young, and I do believe this is this author's first adult novel, so that comes with the territory of switching up who your audience is. Something that rubs me the wrong way for this book is that it is published by Creature Publishing, which their whole thing is feminist horror. And in the preteen timeline, one of her friends is like a little bit promiscuous. She's into the boys more than the other girls, and she's also mean. And she is said to be both of those things because her father abandoned her family. And I'm just kind of like, really? This is supposed to be feminist horror, and you're going to play into the stereotype that a girl is promiscuous and mean because she has daddy issues? Like, and hear me out. I understand that this stereotype exists for a reason because people will act out to gain a sense of control. I just don't think you should put this in a feminist horror book without saying that second part out loud. And I understand she was a child and she could not conceive of that at that age, but we had a current day timeline of her in her 30s. There could have been like a smidge of perspective. Next, I have Sorry to Disrupt the Peace. This one's also like high in this category. This one was good. This is about a girl whose brother dies, and when she goes back home to like help support her parents, she just makes shit worse. She is weird. She is weird and she acts weird and doesn't really understand that she makes people incredibly uncomfortable with how she talks to them or her actions. And it's just seeing her in this town that she grew up with interacting with people in a really uncomfortable way and how she like relates to her parents, and it's just weird. She acts very strange. Next, I have Animal Farm, and I'm just going to put this in required reading because if you didn't read it in high school, you should read it now. I didn't read it in high school, so I read it now, and I went, oh, I get why people read this in high school. I get why this is required reading. And I think it's good. I think it was good for me to read this book. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, you know. Next on here, I have Wave. This was a disappointing one for me. This is about this girl who becomes obsessed with this man she saw in the grocery store. He is like the man of her dreams. He is what she has been picturing in her fantasies. And her husband finds out and becomes obsessed with the idea of looking like him. So the only one who will do this plastic surgery to make him look identical to him is this underground off the books surgeon. And he is not listening to her saying that that is not going to work, that that's a bad idea. And he just does it anyways. And then that storyline ends. And the last quarter of the book is about her getting sex trafficked and liking it. Ugh, makes me mad. Makes me mad. Okay, next I have Shy Girl. This was a fucking weird one. This is one to check trigger warnings for. This is about a girl who is struggling. She got laid off. She has no savings left. So she decides to look for a sugar daddy. And she finds one who will pay her a salary to every day come to his house and act like a dog, crawl around on all fours, sleep in a crate, the whole shebang. And she agrees to do it, and then he doesn't let her leave. He kidnaps her and will beat her if she does not act like a dog. If he sees her speaking or walking on two legs and just holds her captive. It is not an easy read. It is quite uncomfortable and abusive, obviously. Okay, next is The Compound. I really liked this. This book is getting pushed hard by the publishers. It is about a reality TV show in a vaguely dystopian future in the sense that they let way more happen to these contestants than would be allowed in current day. These contestants have to couple up every night, and if they don't, someone will get sent home. They get these tasks every day, and they have to complete them to get items. These items start out as like water and food to survive. And as it goes on and more people leave, the items become more luxurious, like a hot tub or diamond earrings. And yeah, it's about that and the fucked up things they have to do and the dynamics between these contestants and the prizes. And it's fun. It's fun. It's not as fucked up as I expected it to be, but it was still fun. Next, I have Ravishing. I think this was, in fact, my favorite of all the weird beauty books I read. This is about two siblings who get involved in this beauty product on opposite sides. The brother is on the development side, he works at the startup, and the sister uses the product. It allows you to completely rearrange your face in whatever way you want. And the brother sees this as having very therapeutic effects. He works with this influencer who uses the cream to look like her deceased sister as a way to grieve her. And then his sister, who uses the product, uses it to make it so she doesn't look like her father, who abandoned the family and just like really hurt them in the process of that. And I was really pleasantly surprised that this book about the beauty industry was not about whitewashing, and it was very much about embracing your culture. One of the reasons this girl had a lot of issues with looking like her father is because her father purposely disconnected her from her culture. He didn't let her befriend any of the other Indian girls at the school, didn't let her do cultural dances, eat food, like cultural food. So she felt really freed to be able to do those things while using this beauty product. And then, like, it's a horror, so terrible things happen. The beauty product is actually bad, it's how those books go. But no, it was really good. Lastly, I have Worry. This I also really enjoyed. This is about two sisters who are living together in New York City, and they are very different and they kind of get on each other's nerves. And the mother is like kind of falling down the QAnon rabbit hole, and they both react to that very differently. And it's just like classic lit fic about girls who can't really get their shit together in their 20s. Here is my ranking. This is a pretty good distribution. Definitely liking more books than I'm hating. I only have one that made me think fanning books was good, and I'll take that as a win. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you pick up any of these required reading books, please report back with an essay on your thoughts, and I'll see y'all next time.